Hello, my sweet little angels. How are you? Have you been doing well this week with our first week of Sign of the Beaver? It's been kind of fun, don't you think? I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've just been able to kind of relax and read and think about the things that have happened in the book, which is very exciting. Wait till we get to today's chapter. It's pretty cool. Have you been thinking about the things that might happen? Like what might happen to poor Matt? Here he is out alone in the wilderness, no neighbors in sight, his family's not there. What do you think might happen? Well, his gun's been stolen. Remember old Ben in the other chapter stole his gun, ate a lot of his food? So that's a conundrum, isn't it? It's a problem. Let's see what else might happen. Do you think it'll all be easy sailing from here on out, or do you think there might be a little adventure in Matt's life? Let's find out. Okay, we're going to be on chapter 4. It's page 19. All right, I'll give you a second to get there. This is a short little chapter, but it is packed full of exciting things. It was hard to be deprived of the hunting. Now, wherever he went into the forest, the squirrels and the rabbits frisked about boldly, knowing perfectly well he had no gun in his hands. Once he was certain he could have had a good shot at a deer. Instead, he went fishing, and he knew he ought to be grateful that the creek and the pond could provide all the food he needed, even though fish didn't seem to stick to his ribs like a good meat stew. Here and there, in a sunny spot, he discovered a patch of blueberries. Gradually, his spirits rose again. The July weather was perfect. The flies and mosquitoes were less bothersome. He began to count the days ahead instead of the ones he had notched. 2 or 3 more sticks, and his family would be here. Now remember, each stick represents a week, and his dad said, do you remember how many sticks it would take? His dad said about 6 or 7 sticks, and he told he told Matt to notch each day in a stick, 7 days full, and that would count for 1 week. So he's saying there's only 2 or 3 more weeks left, and that's when his pa said he and the rest of the family would be coming. That's exciting. So he's looking forward to that. He's feeling pretty good now. The corn was growing taller. The little hard green pumpkins were rounding out. He could wait a little longer. He can do this. Just 2 or 3 more weeks. He's got it. Perhaps even he became a mite careless. That doesn't sound good, does it? He had been fishing all one morning, a good clear day, the water still nippy on his ankles, the sun warm on his bare head. He had followed the creek a long way and had a lucky catch. He came whistling out of the woods, swinging 4 speckled trout. You know, trout's a type of fish, so he got 4 fish. That's awesome. He quieted down. Wait a minute, sorry. He quieted down all of a sudden when he heard a crackling in the underbrush close by. Then he stopped short at sight of the cabin. The door was swinging open at a crazy angle, one hinge broken. Across the door sill, which is the top, some white stuff dribbled like spilled flour. Now, we have our vocab word of hinge. You know, that's what holds a door on the wall. That's what helps it swing back and forth and stay attached on the wall. And one of those is broken. There's flour everywhere. With a shout, he dropped the fish and ran. It was flour, tracked all over the cabin floor. The sack ripped open and dragged across the room. The cabin was a shambles. The stools overturned, the shelf swept bare, the precious molasses keg upside down on the floor and empty. And you know, molasses is kind of like syrup, a type of syrup, real thick and, you know, kind of syrupy, honey-like, yummy, makes things sweet. Ben must have come back. Remember, he's thinking about old Ben. He stole that gun. He probably came back. For a moment, hot sparks of anger drove every sensible thought out of his head. Then he knew, it couldn't have been Ben. Ben was too fond of food to waste it. Indians? No, it wasn't possible any human being would scatter food about like this. With a sinking heart, he realized what had happened. He remembered the thrashing in the underbrush. It had to be a bear. Somehow he had neglected to bar the door securely. Well, the damage was done, and the bear would be half a mile away by now. I mean, what would he have done? Fought the bear? I doubt it. Helpless with fury at his own carelessness, he stood for some time in the middle of the cabin, unable to pull his wits together. So he is very angry with himself because he was so careless about closing the door. He didn't latch it properly, and the bear was able to get in. So he's just doesn't even know what to do. He's so mad at himself he can't even see straight. Then he went down on his hands and knees and carefully began to scrape up the traces of flour. After a time, he gave up. The best he had managed to salvage was 2 handfuls of gritty, unappetizing meal, even though he took the good pewter spoon and dug it into the hollows of the dirt floor. So he's scraping up the flour off the dirt floor. Their floor is made of dirt, but that's how badly he wants this flour. He's getting up every bit he can, even if it is on a dirt floor. After a long time, he felt hungry enough to remember the fish. Half-heartedly, he cleaned them and blew up the fire and roasted them. He found a few grains of salt left in the tin to sprinkle on them. He would have to make the best of it. He wouldn't starve as long as he had a fish line, but tomorrow he would not even have salt. So Matt's finding himself in a predicament here. The gun's gone. Most of the food that his pa had left there, the flour, the molasses, salt to season whatever he caught, that's now gone. He has a fishing line, but just to catch fish, every now and then that would be fine, but day after day, meal after meal, nothing to season it with, he's pretty bummed out. At the beginning of the chapter, he was like, okay, I can do this. I've just got 2 or 3 more weeks. I can do it. And then this happened, and he's feeling really bummed out. He's upset, and he's mad at himself too because he was so careless. So now thinking, this is kind of the way this is going to go. So each chapter, we're just going through these days with Matt, and we're going to see what happens, what life in the wilderness is like all by yourself. It's just kind of crazy to think about it. It's he's only 12 years old. That's just so young to me. So young, it seems to have to be out there by yourself, fending for yourself, for your life, for your food, making sure you're safe. It's a lot to think about. So just ponder it all. Remember, you are allowed to read ahead, but don't tell anybody what happens. Keep it to yourself. Think about Matt. I know you're making pictures in your mind because very few chapter books have many pictures in them. So you're having to make your own pictures. I bet they're really good pictures too. But making the pictures in your mind, thinking about what's happening, picturing it all, thinking about what's about to happen, what's going to happen, who knows? And think about the title, The Sign of the Beaver. Think about that and where things might lead us, okay? All right, so if you're following the days, today is Friday. Let's see, Monday is Easter Monday, so we will not have school on Easter Monday. So we will come back together on Tuesday. And I believe we are reading chapters 5 and 6 on Tuesday. So we've got a little bit to wait. I hope though, that you're just so excited about it, you can hardly wait to come to it every day. I hope it's an exciting thing for you to do. I miss being able to see your little faces. I love to see the kid. I can pretend you're out there sitting in your little desks and watching your faces, but it's just not the same. But we'll make do with what it is, right? You know what your assignment is? Chapter summary after every chapter. So chapter 4, and let me remind you, I want you to keep these until the end of the book, okay? I want you to have them if we do some kind of a cumulative review at the end. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to handle the end of this. Things have to change a little bit. But I want you to have these because if I need you to refresh your memory about things that have happened, I want you to have these to reflect back on. It's a good way to review the story. Just kind of gives your mind like, oh yeah, that's what happened. Okay, I get it. So chapter 4, I said, something has destroyed many things in the cabin. You could, instead of something, I think I would put a bear because we know it's a bear. They don't leave us hanging. If they hadn't told us that in chapter 4, we could say something. But they've told us that. So a bear has destroyed many things in the cabin. You could elaborate on that. Matt has no food left, no flour, no molasses, no salt. Whatever helps your mind. What works best for you to help you remember the story. Okay? All right, so this is what you're going to work on. Wednesdays are quiet days, and that, like, if you didn't quite get finished with one of your chapter summaries, that's what you can do on those days. Also, remember, I'm still holding you to AR, okay? How many points do you need? Do you remember? 12 points. Technically, it's due May 15th. And I know many of you will earn prizes. And if we get to come back together before the end of the year, we'll certainly get prizes. If we don't, I promise you, I will save them for you and you can get them at the beginning of next year, okay? So don't worry about that. You just read away, okay? That's the best way to be a good reader is read, okay? I miss you guys terribly. You know I do. So when we come together again, we'll read chapters 5 and 6, okay? All right, be sweet for mom and dad. Be sweet to brothers and sisters. Be sweet. Just think happy, good thoughts, okay?